money lies over the ocean.
Red leather, yellow leather. Red leather.
Peter Piper, pick.
Yellow leather. Oh yeah, that yellow leather.
Ooh, that leather yellow. Whoa.
Ooh, that
Beautiful
black leather
bloody
and a
blue
ball gag. What?
Again, I think someone's into BDSM.
Boobies, butts, and balls. Boobies, butts, and balls. Boobies, butts, and balls.
And mushroom tips, apparently.
Mushroom tips. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, because there's a fungus among us. All right. Clink, clank. Clink, clink, clank.
Clank.
Clink and clank. Hello and welcome to Strange Happy Hour. I am
gosh.
one of your hosts, Brent the Jester Head Metcalf. Along to my right,
Handsome Joe.
he looks so excited to be here today. And on the left,
The dispatcher, Mark Plover.
we are slightly frustrated because we were attempting to pre-order PS5s before they're available on Walmart, and we missed out. But, of course, we are here to be happy and merry and share with you the news that we gather each and every week involving the nerdy video game news as well as the really cool tech news. There's a lot of both in this episode. However, we don't have time to talk about everything. We definitely don't have time to talk about the fact that there's a rare Game Boy Advance prototype available for auction, and it looks really cool. It's orange. I was really excited about it. Looks great. We don't have time to discuss the fact that Immortals Phoenix Rising originated from an AC Odyssey bug in which Cyclops were found on the main character's ship. I thought that was great. We also don't have time to discuss the fact that Warframe devs are making the game smaller. The game actual file size will be smaller. So when you download it, you don't have to worry about
compression.
Not like Call of Duty, which is 200 gigs.
And is already compressed.
Doing that too.
However, we do have time to talk about what we like to call on this very show each and every week as we gather together under our umbrella of the Strange Gaming Network as one and only through our digital bunkers across the interwebs.
The important.
The important.
Man, we actually were really well on sync that time. I'm really proud of all of us.
I'm glad you thought so because I didn't think so.
We're going to start with two smaller stories. Starting with the dispatcher himself. Talk to us about Apple launch event. Are they launching things in space?
They're launching
things.
things.
Elon Musk?
Yeah, exactly. They want to go to the moon, or they want to be able to detect your blood oxygen level as you're on the way to the moon in space. Specifically with the Apple Watch Series 6. No, so Apple had, of course, their annual September launch event. Not as spectacular as it normally would be. To my knowledge, like previous September releases usually talk about the iPhone 12, or usually talk about the next generation of the iPhone, but they didn't talk about the iPhone 12 at all. Actually, it had been kind of rumored beforehand that they weren't going to be mentioning anything about it because of production issues currently because of COVID. Instead,
wonder why we're worried about PS5 pre-orders.
The two big topics anyway of the keynote was around the watch, the iPad, and the services that they're offering. So in particular, the Apple Watch Series 6 is out, and very specifically, blood oxygen monitoring, like I talked about, is a big thing. In particular, it is for altitude climbers. People, like, you can even really read it if you're taking a skydiving plane to go up, for example, and you want to detect your blood oxygen level. And the other reason that comes to mind is because David Blaine's recent stunt is constant monitoring of your blood oxygen levels to determine whether or not you're running into issues, holding things, which actually, if you're anemic, will also tell you that you have a very low blood oxygen level, for example, because you may not have the same amount of oxygen attaching to the blood cells in your body. Now, that's just an idea of what it could be used for.
So they're actually monitoring the blood cells, like they can tell if oxygen is attaching or not?
I do not know how the hell it does it. I don't know anything about that.
It's going to have an accessory that attaches that sends digital information.
I know. You can try to joke. I don't know.
All I know is that Apple's eventually going to start monitoring people who should or should not reproduce in this country, and that's going to be the scary time. Please continue.
Went from oxygen levels to reproduction rights. That's interesting.
Yep.
Wow.
It's called eugenics.
Advanced so quickly. All I can think about is as a scene from Apollo 13 where like he rips off his medical bag or whatever and says, "I'm tired of the entire Western world knowing how my kidneys are functioning." Well, yeah, there you go. The next bit was the Apple Watch SE. SE, of course, being Apple's cheaper line generally for products, so it is supposed to be just a much more affordable way to get a hold of an Apple Watch if you want. One of the services to come with that is the ability to set up or go through family setup, or as a lot of people are calling it, kid mode, where if you have an Apple Watch SE or a different Apple Watch with GPS and cellular enabled, it will track where your child's at. It will give you warnings if your child is somewhere they shouldn't be, and constantly give you updates on what they're doing.
Someone's going to use that on their husband, and they're going to get in trouble.
That's the husband or the fair person,
or Apple.
Yeah.
But kind of
gave me a tracker to track my husband, and he's not knowing. Ooh.
Kind of an interesting feature set. But it's I don't know. I don't know how many people are actually going to really take much use out of this, because that means you have to buy them the watch, when in the first place you really should just be buying them the iPhone to track a lot of that stuff anyway. So, I mean, sure, if they're getting a watch, you can activate the mode as well. Next big, or actually probably the biggest setup for this anyway, is the new 8th gen baseline iPad, or the base iPad, base iPad, the iPad. It's literally just called iPad, as opposed to the Air or the Pro. But the 8th gen iPad has very minor updates for what it is. It's got a better price point, but that's other than that, of course, it's got modern tech. It's still a single lens camera. It's nothing spectacular like the Pro. The iPad Air, on the other hand, gets a massive update. So starting at $600, you can get pretty much the same features that you get out of the iPad Pro, minus Face ID and whatnot. So it's still pen drawing and a bunch of other things. You get a fingerprint sensor now that's on top of the power button on top of it, which is nice, since they wanted to finally eliminate the button at the bottom. But honestly, that's about it. Like, they offer Wi-Fi cellular options. It has all the scribble features anyway of the Apple Pencil 2. You do not get the LiDAR sensor or the huge triple camera array of the iPad Pro, but to be honest, that's supposed to be the price point difference between the the top tier iPad Pro or iPad Air is supposed to be the Wi-Fi plus cellular 256 gig model is $879, which is $170 or $180 cheaper than the $1,050 iPad Pro. So
who is taking pictures with their tablet anyways?
I don't know. You need help.
The only people that would be people that work in deliveries and stuff like that, where they use tablets for that purpose. But that,
I think you meant old people, John. Old people are the people who take pictures with their tablets.
Very specifically, the medical industry.
I watched
and old
Mom
people.
try to do it. I was like,
why?
Can I say that whenever
your phone's right there?
Can I say that when the iPad first came out, I was a little pissed off because I had gone to a concert and you just see a bunch of fucking people taking their goddamn iPads out.
I hate phones.
Like, they're just holding iPad, a fucking tablet up like this.
You'll see my shoe coming so fast, and I will
fucking punch it. I will pay another $50 for my pair of shoes just to ruin your $800 tablet. Don't be rude. It's rude.
People who put up your phones at concerts, enjoy the fucking concert. You're there for a reason.
Phones
it's an
are
experience.
Already rude enough. Tablets just take it to the next damn level. Like,
I don't care if I'm the old man on my lawn screaming at the youngins. Fuck off!
I don't know if it was Joe Rogan or if it was a comedian. I can't remember, but there was someone where you had to check your phone in order to get inside.
Yeah,
you got to keep your phone, but it got put into a lock bag. And if someone found it outside of the lock bag, somehow or some way, it was put in a cut-proof lock bag. And if you had another phone on you, they would take it away. And you agreed coming in that you could have it taken away.
Oh.
So I was like, does it really have to be that way, people? Do you have to be treated like we're back in high school in the days of flip phones?
Phones are an addiction. What they are.
Some would say it's a friction addiction you wish you would.
I do.
Moving on.
Right.
Moving on. Next in the actually, I guess taking a step back because obviously this article's out of order, and I forgot about this one. The Apple Watch introduced a new band called the Solo Loop. Interesting idea. There are supposed to be tons and tons of different sizes for your wrist, and the idea is that there is no more clasp. Everything is going to be a single loop that runs around anyway, which is a lot more comfortable, I'll be honest, because then you don't end up with those notches and whatnot in your wrist. But honestly, it's a minor upgrade feature. It's really not that big.
Fucking tight do you put that on, Mark?
What do you mean?
Jesus.
That was my question.
It weighs like an ounce, and you're gonna like freaking gotta make sure that motherfucker's on there. Tourniquet this shit.
All I heard was that Apple is. Hold on, let me look at this.
I'm just making sure mine doesn't move. That's it. Like Jesus, you guys are going all in on this.
You're goddamn right, Mark. So you would purchase a loop that fits your size.
Mm-hmm. The idea is
so rather than having something adjustable that they could literally mass produce for everyone, and that way you wouldn't have to worry about the fact that this one band is going to be not utilized by your consumer. They're not going to make individual bands per consumer.
Well, it's obviously it's not purposeful to the individual, but there's like 12 or 14 different sizes for wrist sizes. Yes.
It's such a dumb innovation.
Let's reinvent the wheel. How can we make fire again? It does not, except better.
It doesn't make sense to me. I have worn watches since I was 14 years old, and never have I come to a watch and been like, you know what? I wish they would just make the one size for me. I wish they would do that.
It is a funny, interesting point that like we're hung up on this, but at the same time, that's how dumb it is.
Yeah. Well, so apparently, like it was so popular, I guess, during their testing that they decided to make a nylon version as well. So like like the nylon braided roping, for example, that kind of thing for bands. It's same thing.
All I'm saying is that when you have a specific band like that and you like it that much or whatever, and then it breaks and you have to wait for another one because you need a specific size. It's the same issue that you get with the fit ones that we used to have, where that would break and you were freaking screwed.
So I don't know what that looks like on the purchase end if you like pick one of the Solo Loops out whenever you buy the Apple Watch, because for example, like mine, I could pick between different types, but I got this clasp type whenever I bought it. So if that's the case, cool. And then the idea is you have to buy a Solo Loop as an extra feature after the fact. One, that still kind of makes it useless. Two, because nobody's going to buy it after they get one that's already built for them to some extent. And two, like you have an adjustable you can go back to if you really need to. Like it depends on, I guess, what their implementation is of this.
What I wish they would have done was made a subdermal like magnet, so it just attached to your body. You don't need a band.
Oof. Every time we talk about Apple, it just feels more and more like a cult. No, this wristband is really innovative. Yeah, no, it fits only me.
Think outside the box. Be broad view, okay? You have to be able to see 80 floors up and see everything as it is.
So then you're going to see the same way as like there's a particular type of Lamborghini that's out there that whenever you buy, or no, it's a Porsche. Whenever you buy the car, the seat is perfectly tuned for you and has to be adjusted after the fact through a mechanic after the fact to be able to adjust it for somebody else.
So I would argue that that's not as egregious for two things. One, there's only a certain number of people who can afford to buy that.
Okay, fair.
Right? So there's literally something stuck there. Plus, when you order that car, they're going to have you come in and be fitted for it.
Right.
That's not going to happen with a Solo loop. Like,
well, you fit yourself. You fit yourself for it is the point. So but
you're like, Apple, here's my thing. Just send me that, and they're what? It's it's so dumb.
Well, anyway,
I'm sorry we're hung up for 2 minutes on the Solo.
Now that we've spent like 4 minutes on just this one bit altogether, stepping up to the last two pieces anyway from the event, services in particular are the two biggest things that they were pushing. So Apple Fitness Plus is a very, very big system that they're bringing up as part of their new bundle that they're calling Apple One, which I'll get into in a second. Apple Fitness Plus is essentially a subscription service that allows you to, from any of your iOS devices, get access to video services from professional trainers.
A Peloton for your iPhone.
More or less. Actually, the funny part is that the CEO of Peloton actually responded to this, saying that they're still trying to digest the information themselves, but it still looks like very innovative tech in pushing the digital exercising space, which for Peloton only helps them out even more because that's exactly the market that they're in. Partnership. I can smell a partnership between Peloton and Apple coming if Fitness Plus takes off the way that it should. And the final bit, of course, that I had already mentioned was Apple One. And the idea is that there is a savings to be had with Apple if you use an Apple One subscription with bundled services. And the idea is that it's your iCloud storage, your Apple Music. It can be your Apple Fitness Plus. It can be Apple Arcade. It can be Apple TV Plus. It can be literally all of your available Apple services in one place for one subscription cost.
So I definitely wanted to talk about this for two things.
Okay.
One, Spotify's CEO has now come out asserting their own antitrust claims against Apple for this service.
Really?
Stating that Apple is utilizing their platform to push their own services while pushing out any form of competition on the iOS ecosystem. Spotify's stock fell tremendously after they announced this, while Apple's rose.
Oh, really?
So that's part of it.
I wouldn't. I guess Apple Music is included in every single one of these subscriptions, so I get that. I guess, but
which lends more interest. I guess maybe not credence, but interest into Apple saying that Epic's lawsuit could ruin the iOS ecosystem. So it seems more and more like Apple is very much trying to make their ecosystem even more insular than it already is by including their own services at a competitive rate, arguably more competitive than anybody else can offer, right? Like Spotify can't give you fitness tracking and everything for an extra $5. Like they can't lower their prices any further because they already have to make a certain amount.
Yeah, and see, this is where I understand Apple's plight of, we can do all of this because we have such an enclosed platform. And I understand the argument too from Spotify of step aside, let the rest of us do it too if we want to be competitive. And the idea is, realistically, if Spotify and Peloton and YouTube TV and Google Drive or Microsoft OneDrive and some sort of game subscription service, if Apple would ever allow it on their platform, suddenly banded together and gave themselves a singular subscription model, then you'd have competition for this. But they're not doing that. And the other side of it too is that, of course, Apple takes 30% of that cut anyway. So, I guess
if you saw a company like AT&T do something like this, they've been hit with antitrust for doing the exact same thing between phone and internet and all this other stuff.
To be fair, AT&T's existence is the result of an antitrust lawsuit where Bell, or Southern Bell had to get Pacific Bell had to get split into however many different companies, So, it's, I don't know. I understand Spotify's plight on this one, but by the same token, Apple's rules,
it's what makes this field so interesting, right? We've never really delved into this space like we talked about over and over again, and I'm just going to reiterate, but like we're in a space where Apple literally doesn't own anything physically. They have servers, right? But they own this digital space, and it is endless. As long as we continue to build servers that can handle the amount of traffic available on there, they can literally grow it to the end of time. Mm-hmm. Like they're not hindered by anything.
The dollar to performance or dollar to users anyway in that space is very small by comparison. Yeah, sure. Like you look at a $10,000 server as an individual and say, wow, that's expensive. But when you realize it's thousands of people on that and the revenue you gain from those people is obscene, to them, it's a drop in the bucket.
And that's why I do think there needs to be an assessment. I am not saying that the answers are out there, because I don't think they truly are. Like our current antitrust laws don't cover this in a very clean way that makes sense.
Nope.
But they're going to have to be reassessed.
I mean,
that's what this other lawsuit with is it Epic?
Epic.
It is Epic.
Epic kind of brings about too, because they're pretty much saying like, hey, you guys are treating us differently than for your benefit, which you're going to see a lot of that. And to be fair, I mean, if you looked at Microsoft and said, oh, we're going to charge you every time you want to put software onto your computer, those people would freak out.
Buckle up, folks. This is going to be a long episode.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. My bad.
I guess,
no, I'm not trying to stop conversation. This is very interesting. We should continue. It's just warning the viewer now.
No, I guess my thing here, and this is the same thing I've spouted from the beginning, is, while yes, it is not the most moral thing to put yourself in a monopolistic sort of position like this. Realistically, from the capitalistic side of this, it's Apple's playground. They can do whatever the hell they want with it. You can invite. It's Apple's house and Apple's party. They can invite or not invite whoever they want and say you can or can't do whatever the hell you want.
See, and that's my point, though, is I think that has to be reassessed, because the problem is that we live in a world where that house can, again, essentially grow however large they can bring it, and they have the money to bring
They're already a $1 trillion company.
But a $2 trillion company. Thank you very much. You misspoke there.
No, how dare I raise your point further?
I'm going to sue you. I'm a billionaire, not a millionaire.
No, but I guess my thing here is, in the way of this lawsuit, anyway, the courts are going to make an ultimate decision and set a precedence for Apple and for every other tech company from here on out. Because this is whatever Apple's decision ends up, or whatever the decision against or for Apple ends up being, will affect Google and will affect Amazon and will affect the rest of them anyway that build their own marketplaces out here, or build their own devices and build their own ecosystems and whatnot. And there's a lot of
for us. It's going to restrict us because everyone's going to want a piece of their pie, and you're going to have 50 freaking devices to deal with your shit.
Well, and so this is sort of the argument of, do you join an entire ecosystem on one side or the other or not, or do you intermingle devices? And the problem is with no decent open standard for things, there's no good way to do that. Arguably,
and this is where a nonprofit would come in and do the service of the public by being able to say, here's the marketplace, we're making this with this device that you can, here, there's no restrictions, this, that, or the other, like whatever's on here is on here.
So arguably,
take a risk,
arguably, that is Android to some extent, with the capability of somebody to build a third-party marketplace. But Google Play Store
is going to start with this precedent. Android will follow suit.
Well, so actually, specifically, you're talking about Google Play Store.
And Google's also in a lawsuit right now because of their own practices.
Yeah, but at the same time, with this precedent, they will all be able to do this.
The difference is that Google has a cop-out here, an easy cop-out of saying, look, Android's got a way to get around this. Yeah, sure, it's a 10-step process, and sure, Epic might not like it, but it is a way around it. You can deal with it.
Yeah.
Like we're protecting our consumers is what we're doing, because we're allowing you to do it, but we're throwing up warnings to say, hey, this could be malicious software, because by the way, when Fortnite released their launcher, there was a ton of malware out on the internet at the time that people were downloading from faulty Google searches. There is an argument to be made against what Epic is saying here. Towards Google, and Apple's standpoint, of course, is we're preventing that entire problem in the first place.
Again, that's why I think this needs to truly be looked at, because the solution isn't as simple as just allow us to do what we want. Epic is not right in every one of their arguments, but their argument of the fact that these companies are acting in a way that benefits themselves over other
100%.
Companies that are on the actual market space is true.
Yeah.
And therefore we have to find some sort of solution.
So the hard argument to make here too is that technically Google and Apple are sitting at the status quo here.
Mm-hmm.
Steam pulls 30%. EA and the rest of them build their own systems out. What was the other? There was another store. Epic is the only one.
All the consoles do 30%.
30%.
That's pretty much a standard.
Right.
But
Epic is the first one to try to shake up the industry with 12%. Which I get that they're trying to shake up the industry. I just don't think that this is the right way to do that.
Well, why is it that with computers this was never a thing, and now with phones it is? Now, granted, consoles have their own marketplace as well, and they are essentially the same thing as what a cell phone would be in their own.
So
to me, it's
way.
So in PC space, because anyone and everyone can build their own marketplace application, and everyone downloads them and sets them up and installs them and runs them the same way, because it's all sort of the Wild West. everyone
so if you would have bought the
to
disc to download the disc, it would have been the same. I would believe.
Say that again?
Like say, for instance, say that a computer game, for instance, if I bought a disc on a computer game, I could load that into the computer and everything else, and it doesn't go through their marketplace, and they don't get a share of those profits, right?
But if you bought it from GameStop gets that 30%. If you bought it from Walmart, Walmart gets that 30%. If you bought it,
do they really get 30% though? I mean, I think they get a markup of a couple bucks.
No, they don't.
30,
no, they don't. No, they don't. GameStop, on an average game that sells for $60, they pay $52 for that game. Yeah, they do not make a lot of money. That's why they make most of their money off of pre-order.
Same thing.
I'm sorry, pre-owned. GameStop is entirely built on pre-owned, and so when pre-owned goes away, they're completely gone. That's why.
Yeah.
They can't make their money off of actual games.
I mean, that's why. I mean, that's 13%. That's pretty solid compared to what it is, for that. But of course, physical manufacturing still costs the developers and the publishing company and all that stuff in the first place anyway, too. So you're still pulling more money away from them. But
the big answer, John, honestly, is ubiquity. Right? A cell phone is easy for anyone to utilize. It's easy to have in your hand, and it's almost a requirement now today. I can't imagine
that's where I come in. Like with the console stuff, I don't care as much because you chose that console, you wanted this thing, and if people want to be a part of that market space, same argument for Apple. It feels fine, but with a requirement of a phone, it just feels like you're being cornered.
Well, but
I literally as a consumer, I don't feel comfortable with it.
I guess the argument.
I talked to my plumber on WhatsApp to get a hold of him to come to my house, because he didn't want to share his personal number, so he sets up the app on his phone so that way he's able to use it as a professional standpoint. It is becoming a requirement.
You just get a fucking business line like a real business person.
Well, but the point is there's other alternatives, and that's what these are offering.
Yeah,
I guess the difference here though is realistically, if you want to talk about a cell phone from that perspective, playing games on your cell phone isn't a required service. Yeah, sure, having your phone is, and the basic functions of your phone are still available to you free on the device after you've purchased the device and paid for the plan to use it.
But the problem is that the ramifications to the market space, because it's now a requirement, is what's happening. So yes, you're right. Like listening to music and having a game is not required, but they're still creating a monopoly in that market space.
So think about today without smartphones then. Think about it from the fact that the basic idea of kids having smartphones now to be able to play those games is just added revenue for the companies that make those games in the first place. If you are a kid who can only have an iPhone or can only have an Android or can only have an iPad or a tablet or something like that to be able to play Fortnite, but you wouldn't be able to have a console, in a world where those phones wouldn't exist, you just wouldn't be able to play Fortnite. And that would sort of be the end of it, because you wouldn't be able to have those consoles.
We talked about this before. The difference is that phones are way more expensive than consoles. On average, they're $1,000. And B, you're signed into contracts. You rarely get to buy the phone on your own. Now, some people are smart enough; they know how to do it. They can go and buy that phone firsthand. Yeah. But oftentimes, you're tied into a contract with your person, like your provider. Yeah. And if you want to leave that provider with that phone, you have to pay off that phone. You don't even get the option to sell that phone back to them because they won't take it.
Right.
Yep.
So the problem is the fact that the platform you are choosing to be a part of, you are then trapped into for a minimum of 2 years, if not longer, depending on how much money you can put into it.
Yeah.
That's where it really gets tricky. If they were as exchangeable as a $400 console, I would be right there with you.
Okay.
But the problem is they are ubiquitous and required to pretty much live life, and they're expensive as hell, and most people get caught in contracts, which means it's unfair to them when something like this happens.
So then what I'm hearing is that we just need to tell everyone to stop purchasing all the games and apps on iPhone 100%. And Android. And then give that 30% instead of to Apple and Google, give it to Xbox and Sony, because it's the same 30%.
Yep. PS5, baby, refreshing right now.
I don't know.
Speaking of which,
it's complicated. That's my point, right? Like we the three of us, I would argue, are smart enough but we're like, we don't have a solution.
No, 100%.
It needs to be discussed. It needs to be out there. And
again, that's why I talk about how it makes me feel. Not that I'm like, this is how it is, blah blah blah. It's like, no, it just doesn't feel right. Whatever it is, it doesn't feel good.
And I'll tell you, there is a group of people that's going to be making this decision more or less on either Apple or Epic's behalf on September 28th, and we'll discuss it at some point following that decision. Actually, September 28th is a Monday, so we'll be talking about it, and you guys will see that episode October 2nd when that drops, because the first court date for Epic versus Apple is September 28th. So
I want you to look at it this way. I want you to think about this tax almost like a protection tax. Hey, you're working on my street. I'm going to need 30%. Why? Because you're working on my street. And it's like, but you didn't help me make the food. You didn't help me buy the product, pay the rent. It's like, I know, but I'm protecting you.
Well, it's an HOA.
It just feels mob as fuck.
It's an HOA is what it is.
They technically help provide the rent because of the fact that they're actually giving the storefront space to that application, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between paying rent and paying 30% of your profits.
I agree.
But the difference is,
I've never seen this place go, hey, by the way, you're going to pay me rent and I'm going to take you 30%.
All right. Last remarks, Mark.
I don't know.
We're going back to the article, but the last remarks on this discussion.
Last remarks on this. Actually, that's it from the article. But I guess last remarks from this discussion is we'll find out what a group of peers decide. As far as the actual decision here, and I'll say it'll probably take a couple, or I'll say it'll take probably 2 months worth of litigation and actual court dates to be able to determine everything and to process through every bit of evidence that each side's going to propose and see 100%. What happens from those. And more than likely, Google's lawsuit is going to be a quick old snap of the fingers of one day of, well, here's the precedent right here, so done.
We'll just do that. Yeah. John, any final remarks? He had to burp really loudly.
No.
Okay. I rarely try to wrap up conversation, but we
kept going. We just kept going. And this isn't even the biggest topic tonight.
I talked this much. You guys talked this much.
No, you talk quite a bit. But anyways, moving on to our next topic of the show. Please let us know what you think about the Apple launch event and any other discussion points that we have talked about involving Apple, digital storefronts, whatever your thoughts are. Put it in the comments, floating right in front of me like a proud bat insignia on my chest. My topic is the One Piece manga is getting a spin-off manga series. Now, this won't be a long topic, but I do find this very important because One Piece is easily one of the most lucrative Japanese franchises to spin off of manga in decades. I would argue it's probably the most profitable of all time, but I don't have that actual facts in front of me. Ichiro Oda is the author. He started the manga in 1997 and has continued to go. He is arguing right now, it's 2020, so it's 23 years. He's arguing that the manga still has at least 5 years left in it. The man makes $3 to $4 million a year off of royalties for the franchise when it comes to video games and everything outside of the manga itself. The anime is over 1,000 episodes long. The manga is at chapter 989 as of this week.
Holy shit.
And now they're making a spin-off series. So the reason why I want to talk about this, because this is fucking huge. Once again, we're getting another massive launch. It's supposedly going to be 10 volumes. I could be wrong on that. I'll have to double check. It might be 10 chapters, but that seems a little short. I believe it's 10 volumes. And that equates to roughly, off of my guesstimation, 100 chapters of manga. And it's going to involve the artist who is behind Dr. Stone. So what this means for the manga industry and Ichiro Oda in general is I think we're going to see a spike in sales for One Piece. I think this is going to blow the lid off of the industry in a way that we haven't seen since Kimetsu no Yaiba, which is Demon Slayer, which came out the past couple years and actually beat One Piece in the market space. But John, I was wondering if you had some thoughts, because I know, Mark, you don't read manga, but I wanted to highlight this because it's important.
Yeah, when you have such iconic things that, I was more anime starting out, so seeing I never watched One Piece. I have got into it mainly because it is freaking massive. And I'm like, I like to finish what I start. So I have to be in the mindset to do this thing. Like I read Bleach in less than a week. Like I killed it. But for some reason, like this just like it throws me back. But as something that is so old and is still going, it's almost like the Simpsons of manga.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's been around forever. People have grown up with it. This is a huge thing. And we've seen spin-offs come from other things not necessarily as successful. I think this might change that, which I think is very interesting. I think that the premise is very interesting. Looking at some of these sales figures that you were talking about earlier, very interesting. So Shonen Jump as a whole is what it really came into at $40 billion. In manga volumes alone, it's only $12.8 billion. The top being Pokemon at $100 billion, but in the manga magazine, it was only 1.452. So it's like you have to break it down to the manga itself.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're going to be able to find those numbers, but I just thought that was interesting. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of people buy into it. I mean, we have the Shonen Jump app where you're reading things, which I think is insanely cheap at $2 a month.
$2 a month, it's so good. You have
access to so many things, complete volumes, updated. Like it blows my mind that if you're into manga and you're not using that, you're wasting your money.
So I want to make two small comments real quickly. One, this is a spoiler for One Piece. So if you have any interest in diving in, you have to turn away. It's not like... Okay, apparently, okay. So the story does take on the idea that Luffy's brother survives his fatal blow, which everyone believes he's dead. That is part of it. I am not clapping, John. John can join. Clap, clap. I clapped. He's not listening at all. No. Yeah. Clap, clap, clap. I love your dedication where you're like, this is a big thing, but I may one day dive into it. The other thing I want to point out is that there's it is 10 volumes. It is guaranteed to be 10 volumes. So
that's cool.
Holy crap.
This thing's already gone on for like 23 years and it's still got another 5 years to go. And we're going to have a side shoot that's probably going to last a minimum of 2 to 3 years.
One of my favorite things is that Luffy, the main character, his brother's name is Ace, and he has tattooed on his bicep. You can see this in the Kotaku article in our Google Doc in the description. That says Ace, but it's spelled A-S, crossed out the S, C-E. Because he didn't know how to spell his name. So dumb. But it's very cool. Any final notes on One Piece?
No, I think it's interesting.
I'm very excited. I hope it does appear in the Shonen Jump app. I imagine it will. Please let us know what your thoughts are on the old One Piece spin-off series. Are you excited? Could you give a fuck less? Let us know in the comments floating directly above my brow because it's like a straw hat because I'm a straw hat pirate. One Piece. Moving on to our major topic of the show. 36 minutes into the podcast.
This is gonna be a long one. All right, settle in. This is gonna be an hour discussion with last call to follow. So go ahead.
All right, John, talk to us about the PlayStation 5 event.
Okay, PlayStation 5 event. Let's just go down the list. First off, they show off Final Fantasy 16, which holy it looked freaking beautiful. It looked like something from Game of Thrones with Kingdom Hearts and honestly a good Final Fantasy game.
May I step in real quickly?
It's your game. You go for it, buddy.
First of all, it looks single player in the same vein as Final Fantasy 14, which a lot of fans will be happy about. They're sad that it's not multiplayer. That's fine. It's going to be a great experience. Leaning heavily on those fantasy elements, moving away from the technology and steampunk. Very happy about that. I prefer the fantasy over those other elements. Epic cinematics that really lean into summons, which I think is great, as well as the fact that it appears to be a very, very action-heavy combat system with lots of magic and summons not just utilized in a space where you can summon them to help attack, but utilizing in abilities. I saw the main character at one point in time summon the Phoenix Wing to protect himself as like a shield block. It looks incredible. So excited for this game. I'm done.
Cool.
Are you really?
I mean, no, I could go on forever. But
it looks good. Totally recommend you checking that out. If you're a Final Fantasy fan, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Not to mention, all of this was not being presented with PS5 graphics. I think this was actually a
PC emulating
PC
PS5
render.
is what it was. Yeah, actually, our boy Griffith in our Discord got really mad at me because I did not tell him that that it was announced.
Oh no!
Yeah. Sorry,
Next
dude.
up, which for everything else that we're going to be talking about, it was anything that they did show was captured on a PS5.
Mm-hmm.
So Spider-Man Miles Morales looked amazing. We got to saw some gameplay. Takes place in Harlem.
Yep.
The villain, I guess you want to call it, or the antagonist is Tinker and Roxanne, major villains.
Yeah. Roxanne is
I
like
guess what they are.
The organization, right?
Okay.
It's like an energy organization, but they're known to be Marvel baddies.
I'm not up on the Miles Morales stuff, so this is really interesting to me. It's new. I like Spider-Man. I enjoyed the first game tremendously, and these powers look vastly different. A lot more on that stinger ability. Plays a lot with what looks like combos. He's definitely really floaty. Has the ability to really stay in the air. Doesn't take it much. The graphics were amazing. Didn't see any real stuttering. Felt smooth. Everything looked good. There was a lot of stuff. Like I could tell that they took a lot of time. Like just the little things, like the bottles on the table, and the people passing by dancing, like just all this little stuff.
The lighting.
The lighting was absolutely beautiful. It really set the mood, which is what I'm really looking forward to in this generation. With everybody touting ray tracing, is looking forward to seeing how this affects my immersion into games. So really excited to see how this goes.
Lighting and reflections are going to be
also
fantastic.
This takes place a year after the original Spider-Man, so we don't know what happened to the original Spidey. We know we had a cliffhanger. They might go back to that afterwards.
Yeah,
and you don't really know what happens, and then we have the sequel to that one, and then we figure out how that intermingles. See what happens. Next we had Hogwarts Legacy, which looked really cool. It's hard to describe because it kind of reminded me of like a Witcher type game in the fanciful world of Harry Potter. So it's a third-person action game. It takes place in the 1800s. So obviously, I think a lot of people that you're used to aren't going to be there, and things are going to be a lot older in technology. Usually, you see things that they use are older because that's almost like culture and tradition.
Yep.
Whereas this is actually going to be older because those technologies don't exist. It looks like it's made by Avalanche Studios, and I think it's got a lot of potential. I think it's going to be a really cool game.
So
I can't wait to see more gameplay.
I wanted to highlight Avalanche because Avalanche is known for their guerrilla games. I'm not understanding. Guerrilla is actually like there's a Guerrilla Red Faction is what it is. The Red Faction games. Guerrilla is one of the franchises out there. They're known for their destructibility. Like they destroy environments. The ability of those games, the beauty of these games is that you could go in and destroy everything. And so the fact that they're involved in this makes me think that we're going to have large destructible environments because Portkey Games is the core developer with Avalanche helping. But Avalanche is the one I wanted to point out because I thought that was super interesting.
And this, you look like you were going to have a lot of space to travel around. I don't know if it's open sandbox necessarily or if it's going to be a little bit more linear. I'm not entirely sure. We probably won't know until much later anyway. But comes out 2021. Looks interesting. Keep it in your rear view mirror.
Very unexpected.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Not in your rear view mirror. I guess you want to see where you're
going. J.K. Rowling has some really terrible takes on society, but I'm very happy.
There's been a lot of stuff she's said over the years, and I'm like, ooh, wow.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, maybe you should just shut your fucking mouth. Okay, anyways, move on.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I said it. No, I'm kidding. Everyone can say what they want. I just don't have to agree with it.
That's fine. Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Apparently, you can say whatever you want.
Next up is Call of Duty Cold War. We got to see the first chapter. We got to see some playthrough of that. I don't know how RC cars existed during the Cold War that can go as fast as a plane trying to take off, but that's cool.
With a drone camera following it, of course. It's literally what we talked about, like in the whenever we were watching it live.
They have remote controlled cars in the 80s.
I don't think this
roll
is
that
how,
fast. That's cool.
I don't think this is how cameras on RC cars work.
Faster than the Jeep. Should have just done this then.
You didn't know that in the 80s they invented RC cars and then flying drones.
And nitro boost, I assume. Granted, the executions that they did were extremely brutal, seeing people's necks get snapped.
Hey, I'm going to interrupt real quickly. Pre-orders for Best Buy are available on PS5 right now. If you want to try and grab it right now.
Just like right now. Oh my God, we're back. And man,
it's
weird.
no.
It's weird. It's weird. It's like we wasted a bunch of time and you guys still don't have pre-orders.
Shut up, Mark.
Anyway,
I'm so
we were talking about Call of Duty Cold War.
Stupid fucking PC. Okay,
I thought you guys wanted to start this. We only have a whole another hour worth of shit.
Call of Duty Cold War.
Call of Duty Cold War. Looked good. I saw the executions. They looked freaking ridiculous. I mean, just stabbing through the skull with a knife. I was like,
oh well, yeah, no, stabbing through a skull with a knife and then taking the other hand with a gun to shoot. First off, unnecessary. Second, wow.
Just brutal. Not to mention, like, oh, here, let me take the time while in the middle of a firefight, throw a grenade on your chest and push you away, then shoot you. Okay.
All while I'm trying to get to this truck at the front end of this like space so that I could chase after a plane.
I'm talking to them on slow.
Can we get a Final Fantasy?
Oh my gosh. Brent,
that you blow up and don't slow down after you've blown it up.
Brent, I was
you want to try to somehow beat it like you're in a race.
Disappointed you weren't there because I'm gonna have to throw this up here of the recording where as soon as they started taking off in trucks after the plane, the first thing he said, Dylan said, I wonder if this is going to be another Fast and the Furious. And I said, no, the game would have to be entirely about family.
Fast and the Furious runway scene. Can we get one of those?
Well, we can, because then the game would all be all about family, so.
Oh my God.
God damn it! I missed my chance.
Oh God! Oh man, it was a great time.
I was
not to mention like
Discord
the first shot he goes to take, he like quick fires and misses.
Yeah.
And
what?
I don't know. I think it's because you're gonna miss regardless of what you do. But at the same time, I'm like, that was dumb.
To be fair, that was sort of the point of like all gillied up too, is that you would end up missing the target that you're trying to go for because like the wind would like change at the last second. At least that one made sense to some extent, but like I don't know.
Wind's not going to affect your bullet that close. Sorry.
No, not at the distance they were talking about.
Away. No droop, no wind. Nothing.
No blaze,
anyway,
no boat.
By the way, I mean, it looked cool. It looked like another Call of Duty. It looked probably just as beautiful, I would say, as the Modern Warfare Remastered.
Yep,
it looked good.
I'm still going to say that, like Bay of Pigs mission comes up and just by default, America loses every time.
I think that would be hilarious.
I think, didn't they do a Bay of Pigs in one of the... in the Call of Duties, I think.
I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure we did. Anyway, next comes up Resident Evil Village. It looks scary. We have some people in our Discord that were super excited for it. Travis, I think, being one of them.
Hell to the nah.
Yeah, not for me, man. I'm all right.
I came back on a Discord with John's comment. I'll watch you play.
I just, if I play a game, I want to get immersed, and when I get that immersed, I've broken controllers in my hand before.
Ooh.
Like you could ask Brett. I played just intense platforming.
Fear.
You'll hear creaking. But with that, it's like, oop,
John, trust me, I cannot finish Little Nightmares. I need you by my side so I can finish it.
I'll do it. I'll totally 100% help you finish Little Nightmares because Little Nightmares 2 is coming out. So
I know, I can't wait. We can play it together.
Yeah,
there you go.
Absolutely. I like Fear. I couldn't play it. Brian, here's the controller. I'm going to watch you play. But anyway, next coming up is Deathloop. It looks good. I think this game was delayed, but I think it's coming out Q2 2021.
It still looks so good like it did for the previews. Oh my gosh.
They gave kind of a little bit of more of a hint of what to expect with the characters. Like, it's not going to be possible, even if you figure out how to kill every single person, it's not going to be possible for you to get everything done in the time limit unless you get creative. And in this instance, they talked about how he screwed up his discovery of this one character in order for him to go to a party of another guy you're trying to kill, so you could hit two birds with one stone.
This is the weirdest rendition of Superhot I've ever seen.
It's made by Arcane.
Yeah.
Right, and they're known for their systemic gameplay, and that's what really shined to me. Like, exactly what you're talking about, right? Hey, you gotta screw up meeting this one character so they go to the party so you can get them both at the same time.
Yeah, and it looks good. The graphics look good. The powers look good. The shooting mechanics look solid. I think that that world is going to be very interesting. And I can definitely see that story getting a little bit more intense than it seems.
When he had the one gun where he just grabs a handful of bullets and drops it in to reload it,
those
I was
were
that's
nails.
Amazing.
That wasn't bullets.
It looked
those
like a nail
nails.
gun or something like that, and he just drops a ton of metal fragments in there and hopes for the best. Jesus, like what? How does that work?
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's a silent weapon. I think that's why it's like. That's why I was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Next, we have DMC 5 Special Edition. This one will include a playable Virgil. Will also be available at launch. It looks cool. They did this with DMC. I think it was just DMC.
Devil May Cry for the uninitiated.
Yeah, but they called it DMC. It was the reboot that I guess.
Yeah, it was
hipster, but
oh my god, the
emo.
people who made Hellblade.
The emo reboot that people didn't like for some reason. I thought it was a good game, but
what are they called?
They had a Virgil DLC just like this, except this one's newer and looks more badass.
Well, and they also announced after the conference that the Virgil character will be playable through DLC for all people who own the game already, which I think is great.
Yeah, 100%.
So if you want to play it, you can. Cool. If not,
now,
this is not a control scenario.
About the people having an upgrade to the PS5 version either.
So I think this is like a new version. You're just gonna have to buy this game, which it's one of those things where it's not fair, but this is a practice that's been happening for years. I'm fine with that as long as you don't promise people an upgrade, which is where Control, I think, fell apart, right? Where it's like, you got to buy the Ultimate Edition to upgrade to the next thing.
They're doing the exact same thing. You have to buy this edition for the PS5 upgrade.
Yeah, but this is literally you buy the PS5 version of the game. So it's either you own the PS4, you could play that version on PS5, if you want, or you buy the PS5 version. So in the instance of like you own Devil May Cry, John, you and I split the cost of that, but you have the disc. I could buy the PS5 version if I want to, and I may, because I love Devil May Cry 5. I think
the cost of it. I thought I just bought it.
You might have just bought it, in which case I may even more buy the PS5 version. But like there's no upgrade tree here. They're trying to promise someone for buying a PS4 version of it. It's you got the PS4 version, you got the PS5 version. Both will play on PS5. But you can get the fancy new version with the higher graphics and all that if you buy the PS5.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you see a distinction. I still see you have a PS4 game that's getting up-resed. Whether the argument is that you should have access to an upgrade to the PS5. Because they talk about the 100 best-selling games are going to have an upgrade to the PS5 or be playable. No.
That's not what they said. They said the 100 best games will be playable on PS5.
Playable,
right?
I know.
Yeah. So
it just feels still just.
The reason why I make the distinction is because in previous literally from PS3 to PS4, there were two versions of Assassin's Creed 4, Black Flag. Mm-hmm. And if you bought the PS3 version, you could only play the PS3 version on PS3. You could not play that on PS4. That was true. Locked to that generation. And if you bought the PS4 version, you could not play it on PS3. So this isn't arguably, I mean, I would say this is arguably better in the sense that you could play your PS4 version on PS5, but it's no different than last generation or the generation before that. On PS2 and PS3, they also had similar things where a game came out on both consoles. The PS3 version was superior. It is always going to be. The new hardware is always going to be better. Now, again, I argue this is better only because they're not promising consumers one thing and seemingly being backhanded about it, which is what we've seen with Control.
And lying.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Which is what we've seen with
also
technically impossible.
No, it's not. If they made it that easy, I know everyone else can too, and it doesn't really affect them except for the fact that they just want to double up just for having a PS5 game. Without actually making a PS5 game.
I'll only hold back on that assessment only because every developer has specific engines. Not everyone uses Unreal 4 or whatever the case may be. Remedy, I believe, has an in-house engine. It may not be that easy. Now, they lied to us still because we're seeing people upgrade and all the other shit, right? But to blanket statement saying it should be easy for everyone to just allow a PS5 upgrade, I don't think that's fair.
I know she was going to buy that Ultimate Edition until that story came out. And I was like, you know what? Fuck you guys.
Yeah, I agree entirely.
I agree entirely. Fuck you guys.
Fuck you guys. I'm going home. So next up is Oddworld Soulstorm. New trailer showcasing some more gameplay. If you like Abe's Odyssey, you're gonna like this world. It looks like fun, same type of stuff, puzzles, platforming puzzles. I don't think it necessarily pushes a graphics level per se, except for maybe in the cutscenes that you see a lot more textures.
I think the camera perspective probably will push that a little bit. Of it's very zoomed out, very third person-y. So
yeah,
a lot of detail needs to be in the characters. A lot of detail maybe needs to be in the ambient, objects, that kind of thing. It might. It probably won't do it to quite a deep extent, but it can. It definitely can.
I think this game is super fascinating because one, the original Abe's Odyssey Oddworld game came out on PlayStation in 1997. This company literally lives to make these games. They make nothing but Oddworld games. They've been around since 97.
Wow.
Lance, or what was his name? The studio head is still the same studio head at the time of creation as he is now. Like, they're dedicated.
Can I say that?
No, there's... according to Wikipedia, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Remake of 1 would be 8. This would be technically the 9th game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and during the launch of the original Xbox, Oddworld Stranger's Wrath was like one of the big games that came out on Xbox and Xbox 360. Like, it was a huge deal. Eventually Vita, which was where I played it, and it's beautiful. You should play it there. But like they're known for what they do, and the fact that they're still around, what we argue, 23 years later, same as One Piece. Ironic. I love it. Yeah. But 23 years later, they're still making the same games from the same franchise. That's all they're making their money off of. I love it. That's such passion.
And a lot of people apparently love these games enough that they keep making them.
Yeah.
So it's one of those games that apparently does well enough, but you never hear about it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, they're the, I would argue, the precursor to the indie movement, right? Like 97, indie games weren't really a thing, but they were a small independent studio that just continued to create these games, and here they are 23 years later.
Well, we also don't know if they got any back-end money from, Sony, especially back then.
Or killing young children. Man, look at that.
Look at that. Hit it straight up. Just.
Oh, man.
Anyway. Next, Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach.
Ooh.
You got a female protagonist this time. Sounds like Freddy's protecting you, which I think is interesting. He's like, hey, by the way, she's getting close. Shut up. I'm like, sounds like it'd be interesting. It looks really cool, creepy, a little bit of a BioShock carnival vibe. It's definitely some kind of theme park, or
I say it looked like a mall set with like a laser tag thing in it. Like, like the style looked really cool though.
So,
like I would like to see playthroughs of this game.
I don't play Five Nights at Freddy, but the one thing I have done is watch a lot of YouTube videos about the theories behind it, because I think the game is fascinating from the lore perspective. And the one thing I noticed about this game specifically is it looks more AAA. Like, it looked nice. It looked good. Like, I was not convinced, because Dylan Yeager was in our chat while we were watching the podcast, or I'm sorry, the stream. And he was like, oh, hey, that's a Five Nights at Freddy game. I was like, no, it's not. That looks too good to be a Five Nights at Freddy game.
It was just a glitch.
Is this Taylor Swift, the video game?
This is Atomic Heart. Please tell me this is Atomic Heart.
Yeah, right.
It's been such a difficult day for all of us. Why don't you come out and we can play a game together?
This looks like Five Nights at Freddy's.
That's exactly what it looks like.
Oh, wow.
This is totally Five Nights at Freddy's.
And then, lo and behold, it was. I was like, man, this is the most AAA game they've produced on this, and I'm actually really excited to see where it goes.
Well, so I was actually looking at the Wikipedia article for this. Apparently, they had sort of teased this back on August 8th, of 2019. Where they had I guess during the 5th anniversary of the game had talked about sort of teased, I guess, this idea, and shown the modernized shopping mall or whatever, the laser tag arena, arcade, that kind of thing. Anyway, in a brand new design. So it was kind of a neat. I guess it's neat to see that this is coming. I don't know anything about Five Nights at Freddy's. I haven't played the first one, so I don't know anything about it, but.
It was created by Scott Cawthon.
Cawthorn. Yeah. He is. So he started as
no R.
Cawthon. Yeah. Cawthon.
Say again?
Cawthon. Charlie Alpha Whiskey.
So Cawthon.
Yeah.
It'd be Cawthon. I've only heard it pronounced by like 4 other YouTubers, so I don't know.
Right.
Enough to correct me.
But
go on.
He leaves lots of Easter eggs in his various games and his website. He's actually renowned for leaving stuff in the HTML where people have to go into the inspector and figure it out to find release dates for stuff. And
I love it.
Like, he's really good. He started making Christian themed games, which I thought was hilarious, and now has moved on to this really creepy.
So apparently, this teasing anyway was done initially on his website last year on August 8th. That's where this was done. It was an image on his website teasing an 8th installment. So.
There you go.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah,
I mean,
agreed.
First up, I love as a web developer, I love his style of Easter egging.
Yes,
like it 100%. Leaves the real dedicated guys to figure out what the hell's going on there. So
super excited to see where that goes.
Yep.
Oh yeah, 100%. Next up is Demon Souls Remake. This shocked a lot of people. This is also going to be a launch title. PS5 exclusive. We don't know if it's a timed exclusive or not.
No. They confirmed it, right? Like, there was a lot of hullabaloo after the conference where articles came out and they said, hey, this looks like it's coming to other consoles and PC. And Sony came back out and said, no. This is a PS5 exclusive title.
Okay, but was there an asterisk at the bottom of the screen that also said
going
to be available on PC?
They said
because,
exclusively
let's be honest,
to PS5.
We saw that a lot during this conference.
You're right. So here's what I'll say is I imagine this will be a PS5 exclusive.
Yeah.
And then in 5 years or less, I'll put the or less on there as a safety net. But in 5 years or less, it's going to come to PC. I don't think it'll go to Xbox because Sony owns the rights for publishing this game in the US and in Japan.
Okay.
That's the reason why. Who is it? 2K? Activision helped publish Dark Souls because the original developer behind Demon Souls wanted to make a sequel and make it multi-platform, and Sony said, no, we own the rights to Demon Souls, you can't do that. So Dark Souls came out and they changed the mechanics just enough. So that, like, it's not a huge distinction for the three of us because we don't play these games, but like how they handle magic, how they handle like the two-hand weaponry, the fact that you can move between one hand and two hand is like a distinction, I believe, for Demon Souls over Dark Souls because each weapon is mapped specifically in Dark Souls as to how you can wield it.
We need old B Scotch and Dots in here.
We do need B Scotch and Dots in here. But there's a reason why Dark Souls started as a franchise is because Demon Souls was locked behind Sony.
Right.
But it looked beautiful. I cannot believe like Blue Point.
The one-hit stuff was pissing Travis off.
It was really funny to watch him get really upset.
One hit.
It's like
I thought he was going to go up to the boss and one-hit him, and Travis is going to come out of the computer and go, fuck!
What is that? Now, this is bullshit. None of them die in one hit.
Yeah, I was about to say, that is not how that works.
This is the biggest fucking lie Sony has ever put out. This is such horseshit. These kids are gonna get wrecked.
It's fair because you can't one-hit anything in those games.
Yeah, they definitely made it towards like, just, get you here, make it, yeah, cool, all right, you did good, awesome.
Yeah, Travis the entire time was like, this is the biggest lie of the entire conference. One hitting some enemies on Demon Souls. Please get out of here.
Yeah, but I mean, it looks gorgeous. It's coming at launch.
Yeah.
Which is amazing to me.
Yeah, I can't believe we got another, launch title. That's crazy. Didn't expect that. You'd have to be naive to believe that.
You would have to be naive to believe that.
The next thing coming up is Fortnite. Available at launch.
There you go.
Surprised?
Enjoyed.
Surprise.
Woo. If it's going to be RTX enabled, then cool.
What everybody thought, and what all the rumors are coming out, that PS Now was going to be thrown into the PS Plus subscription for possibly a higher price. It ended up being PlayStation Plus Collection. It is a benefit to PS Plus, a collection of games available at launch. And essentially, and I'm going to pull out this list because it is actually fairly impressive. You
It's not
got
the
your
full list.
Uncharted.
Yeah.
Huh?
It's not the full list, but it's a list.
It's actually a video. I wish it was.
Oh,
Anyway,
wow,
there
that's
is a list. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's
God
a
of
small
War,
list above.
Bloodborne, Final Fantasy 15, Mortal Kombat X, Until Dawn, Last Guardian, Last of Us Remastered, Persona 5, and Resident Evil 7 Biohazard.
And-
Almost all of those games I have played, which is I paid money for them. Whatever, I got to play them when I wanted to.
There's
But
more
at
in there
the same
too, right?
time, oh yeah, there's
Persona
more, but
5. There's
said that.
Oh, did you? I'm sorry. What's the one until? No. What's one from Bend?
Sony Bend, Uncharted.
Yeah, no, the one with the zombies.
Oh, that's not Bend anyway. I was wrong. It's not. Oh, the one
Thank
that
you.
didn't do well. The Freakers.
Yeah, you and I are both thinking that. Yeah, I'm sorry, they're not zombies. They're freakers. Doesn't matter. Yeah, they're so.
Can't remember
point-
what the fuck that game was.
The point is that it is a large selection of PS4 titles that will be available on PS5 at launch for anyone who's a PS Plus subscriber.
Days Gone.
Days Gone.
Days Gone. Thank you, Jesus Christ.
I literally just typed a Google search in for a Freakers video game, and Days Gone popped up.
Days Gone.
Very impressive. You get access to this. If you felt like you're going from Xbox to PlayStation, I really wanted to play that. Now you get to play them free. You get to have all these amazing experiences with your PS Plus subscription.
I mean, not only that, like you and I, John, are hardened PS4 fanboy. Like we're PlayStation fanboys. I won't deny that fact.
Yeah.
Like I have two Vitas, two PS4s in the household, a PS3, a PS1, and a PS2. Like
And a PSVR.
And a PSVR. I've been down the damn family line. So moving on to PS5 and having access to games that I may not have had time to or no desire to, but have access to it so I could try it. That's amazing.
Yeah. It is. I don't know how you can't get a welcome package better than that.
Well,
hey, welcome to the family.
Yeah, exactly. This is not a Game Pass killer. It's not in any that way. Game Pass has a much larger variety. They have a lot going on. However, this is taking
PS
on
now, but it's not the same.
Yeah, but the point is they're taking on Xbox in a different manner, saying, "Oh, you're going to put all your games on Game Pass. Well, we're going to put all of our great Sony titles: Uncharted 4, Persona 5, God of War, Horizon
we made our
Zero
money
Dawn.
on that. Cool.
All of them are available for PS5 owners at launch.
I thought Persona 5 was
I'm sorry,
Atlas.
it's just one
Am I
second. Just
exactly.
Just dick flopping right on the table there. So,
John, you're right. It is a Sega-owned property because Atlas is owned by Sega now. However, it's a PS5 exclusive. Sega has refused to move that anywhere else, including PC. So
That's
the
very
point is that Sony is basically saying what Mark said, which is, here we are. Did you want to play our titles? Because you can on the PS5.
And then, of course, the coup de grace.
Oh, no, almost. I just want to say any excuse to not upgrade to a PS5 or not move to PS5 from Xbox is now deleted because it's like, hey, you want to play your PS4 games? You can play them on here.
Now, I will say a lot of the games that we did talk about that were going to be available at launch and on 2021, they are going to be available on PC as well. Full disclosure.
There's some discussion I would like to have after this.
PS5 exclusives, asterisk, will be available on PC.
I mean, not everyone's like you, okay?
Well, even then, it's not Steam. It's just available on PC.
I just found that funny. I don't know.
It is funny.
It was a lot of games anyway that said, like PS5 exclusive, asterisk at the bottom, will also be available on PC. Like, what?
How does that make any sense?
How's that inclusive?
The things they say don't make sense. Anyway, down to the coup de grace. Price and release date. November 12th is the release date for most places.
No drum roll at all. Okay.
No. Do we have to?
I was going to put it in a drum roll.
Price.
Nice.
Let's
Mark,
price.
Edit this. November 12th, 2020.
Well, that wasn't even the part I was.
Xbox.
You didn't even mention price yet. So I got a drum roll for that one.
Well, he said.
And the price. $3.99 for the digital and $4.99 for the compact disc.
Woo! Which is what we expected. I think that was.
That's right.
Yeah. Two things.
We were right.
Yes, we were. The release date is 2 days after Xbox because they said November 10th. Interesting. It is super fascinating to see the discless go $4.99, and I think that's just going to kill. Like you, John, you and I think are in the same boat. We're getting disc because we share games.
Even our friends get a disc.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, Ethan, Sean Kane might like. Most of the people I know are getting disc because of the fact that we have basically a friend network where we're all either going to buy the game, God of War being one of them, right? We will all buy our own individual version of God of War. But on the off chance that I buy Persona 6 and you somehow decide you want to try a JRPG, I can hand it to you. You could try it, right? But $4.99 for the same machine minus the disk drive, I think is going to slaughter. Like, I know Xbox Series S, we talked about it last episode. It's still a good machine. There's no doubt about it. It's not bad on any.
Well, it's actually 2 terabyte for the solid state drive on the digital and 1 terabyte for the disc, isn't it?
No.
So they each have 1 terabyte?
Yes. They actually each have 850 gigabytes.
Okay, that's because the software
it's
iOS.
what they decided for their SSD.
825 wasn't it specifically?
It might be 825. Yeah.
For some reason, I thought the digital version had a larger.
You're thinking with Sean Collins' logic.
Yeah, I think literally
there's no way the all digital will be.
I say the only difference between them is supposed to be the drive, the Blu-ray drive.
Is the drive, yeah. And
for $100, I feel like that's a little out there, but at the same time, people are willing to pay it.
Considering you can get a Blu-ray, disc player for
and they want there to be
now,
enough distance because they want people to buy the digital because they make more money on every single game they sell in the digital space. So they're trying to push people towards the digital market, and with that, I mean, it would have normally probably been $4.49.
It makes sense
to make people want to buy the digital version. It did that,
but it makes sense too. Like, I mean, because the only people who are going to want to buy, and we talked about this before too, like the only people who would want to buy the disc version would be people like. Well, you two, for example, that would want to be able to play some of your old disc-based games from PS3, PS4 to enjoy or relish in sort of that old school title anyway on a modern console.
Well, and ultimately, I think John and I specifically will end up saving our money up, right? A lot of people look at it like, why would you buy a disc drive? That's $100 more. But at the end of the life cycle, I guarantee it will make up at least $100, if not more, because John's going to buy games he's interested in and then eventually go, hey, Brent, you should try it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try it. Well, that's a sale I would not spend, but having the access to it.
So these out of stock rates actually for some of these consoles actually is going to be an interesting indicating factor for things. Mm-hmm. So how quickly does, obviously the all digital edition, I think, is going to go out of stock much faster. But I guess the question 100%. Is from a sales perspective, which one or what's the percentage split between them? Because that's probably going to determine for the next generation, 6 or 7 years down the line from now, what do you do? Do you still release a disc-based version? Do you release an accessory to be able to run disc games? Or do you just say, screw it, we're just not doing discs at all?
So I have a history lesson. In 2006, Sony released an 80 gigabyte Blu-ray disc drive PS3 that had the capability of playing PS1 and PS2 games on it. However, the way it worked is it was a software trick, not a hardware compatibility. Mm-hmm. So through software, they would trick the Blu-ray reader to read those discs. And those discs ended up burning up. They actually burned the drives. My original PS3, which was one of those 80 gig drives, died. John was there. I was
We should have sold it for that money, to be honest.
I was very sad. So Sony stopped doing that after the first year because there was no reason for the backward compatibility. the first year had gone by. Everyone was buying a PS3 for PS3 games. They didn't care anymore. My conspiracy theory currently is that the disk drive PS5 will last for about a year and a half, and then they will stop making it.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I see that too.
Well, because what is it? The Series S and Series X are both completely diskless now, are they?
No. The Series X has a disk drive. The Series S does not.
Right.
But in the same vein, I don't think Xbox will continue discs forever. I think they're going to push.
To be fair, they're an extra case in the sense that there will probably be a different Series X released without a disk drive, just because the Series S has worse performance and whatever else.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that point, or we already talked about that, but. No, I find this an interesting spot for them to be in price wise. Like this puts them $100 over. Actually, I don't remember what the price point of the Series X was.
500.
It's the same, so the disk drive is the same as the Series X.
And the digital version is $100 less.
Ooh.
But
you lose all the performance. Like you can't play Series X or 1X games on a Series S. Because the performance is worse. So I don't know. Like the
PS5 is the better buy for the bang for the buck.
100%. I mean, you get the same performance of a full-size PS5 because it is a full-size PS5 just minus a disc drive, which most people don't need anyway. So what reason do you have to buy a Series S at this point?
It's important to note too that we have talked about this individually, but I would like to put it on the podcast that I think this will put GameStop out of business because the all digital PS5 is going to sell out gangbusters.
Honestly, this isn't even. I mean, you might want to say this is a nail in the coffin, but they're about to close another 300 to 400 stores in the next few months anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this what I said was literally they're selling the stake they're going to be stabbed with, like that. Like that's going to be it. Like
selling the poison they're about to drink.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like their initial way they were going to save themselves, the pandemic just took a huge dump on. So.
Yeah. I mean,
they
definitely didn't help,
but luck was not on their side.
No. Well,
I think there's
of course
more thing there, John.
Oh, there is. I was just about to do it before you.
It's not that big. You don't have to worry about that. It's not a big announcement at all.
It's just the God of War trailer.
Yeah, All right, well,
coming out in 2021.
So I guess it's time to move on to Last Call then.
No, it's not. We all heard it. It is going to be Ragnarok. We all knew that was coming, especially if you checked out the secret ending. You got the Thor plopping down in front of Kratos' house.
Oh, I'm so excited. I am.
Oh, no.
I can't.
It's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see how this goes.
It was a literal tease because it was like, hey, here's the Omega signal and the same of a snake. It's a snake. Snake. Ragnarok.
It was in the
oh, Daddy, give me that God of War.
Oh. Jesus.
That's definitely nail in the coffin.
Give it.
Boy.
What I missed after the PS collection.
You missed
Price.
price and
You missed the
release.
price and the release date.
It's the 12th, 400, 500.
Okay.
It is.
So we were right.
Oh,
It is.
Holy shit. Look at that.
oh my goodness.
Come on. Show me something.
This is all I want, dude.
Show me something more than just this. Come on.
It's 2021.
This is how they
at the
announced it
earliest.
originally.
It's literally just gonna be a tease.
Do you notice that's in the form of a serpent too?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Ragnarok.
Omega.
Ragnarok is coming.
Ragnarok. Yep.
It's like I know.
2021.
Delivery could not come any worse timing.
Oh my god.
Boom.
Oh,
Wow.
Oh,
Whoa,
yes,
whoa.
dude.
I like it.
Yes.
So we're getting
Wow.
Horizon and fucking God of War in the same year.
It was in the sign of a loose Omega, is what it was.
Yeah. But cannot wait. Super excited. Now, I have a conspiracy theory myself because Sony, as much as I love their first party titles, are not always on time. I do believe this will slip into 2022.
It's possible. It depends on what they were aiming for. If they were aiming for, there's no way they were aiming for anything before Q2 2021. I don't think so.
Well,
Because there's going to be too much stuff going on in there. So
And we'll talk more about that here after we go over. But my expectation is this is a fall game that will slip into a spring game for 2022.
yeah, I can see that definitely happening. 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, it would it would sell freaking gangbusters.
Oh yeah,
being sold in the fall of
100%.
I mean,
probably a year of the release date.
The quote I do recall hearing is, "Oh my gosh, we're getting Horizon Zero Dawn or the new Horizon Zero Dawn game and the new God of War in the same year,
the same day." I can't believe it.
Dude, there's no way that people are going to be buying these consoles in the freaking droves.
All right, John. So there's some other follow-up information we need to talk about before we go into the discussion portion.
What?
So price of titles.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot about that. I was looking at your thing. I was like, that's the last thing on here. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, the price of the titles appear to be about $70. There is, I think, $50 for the upcoming Spider-Man game.
Yep.
Oh, man, where is this thing? Where are you at? Just looking at you. Oh, it's because of this ad. Fuck you.
Yeah, that's why you use Brave, buddy. Use Brave. Be brave.
Use Brave.
Be brave. Don't get ads. Pretty hard. Pretty simple. Just.
So it appears that Sony is playing with the price spectrum, which I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, because it definitely breaks the mold, which is what we didn't kind of expect they would be doing. There it is. Fine. Spider-Man Miles Morales will be like $50, which they did tell us it wasn't going to be a full-on title. So them pricing it at the $40 original price point would have made sense then.
Yep.
But now it kind of worries me because they said, "Oh, it's going to be a full game," and I'm like, "Well, is it at $50 now?"
It's a full game in the same sense that, like,
they know damn well not to put that at $70. People would have blown up. So $50 is apparently going to be a stretch.
So I would argue that the original Spider-Man storyline is 20 hours. This one's probably 10 or 15.
Yeah, which I find kind of, I don't know why they did that unless they were just wanting to get him out there.
They wanted Spider-Man for launch. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, it did really well right at the end of the console and a launch title.
And Miles 100%. Morales after Multiverse was just straight up easy pickings.
Yeah. Easy fucking money.
Oh yeah. You could tell the influence with the music. It felt so good. Even during combat, the music felt really good.
It's such a different spin on it, but it feels so modern. It feels right for it. It really does.
Yeah.
I feel right, Brian. I feel right.
So we got also Sackboy: A Big Adventure will be $60. Kind of weird. For what they wouldn't normally sell it for $50.
So continue on. I would like to discuss this.
We got. Oh wow, there's a lot more to this article I didn't see. So once you go, no, there's not. What's going on? Dude, there's so many ads. What are you doing?
Use Brave. Demon Souls will be 70, right? So the point is that they are playing with the spectrum, right? So if we're looking at Miles Morales as a smaller game, $50 for that PS5 experience with the ray tracing, the beautiful lighting, the fast load times, a AAA experience that's smaller but enjoyable. And then we have Sackboy Adventure, which seems to be a larger game, but also really leaning on the PS5. And then Demon Souls, which would ultimately be a AAA experience. I appreciate Sony playing with the spectrum because I think they should. I've argued for years that $60 for every game makes no sense. The Witcher, I would argue, should be $80. Just the base game Witcher 3 should be $80.
Well, there's always been the argument of, more money for a game that takes, many, many more hours to play or beat to what
develop
is worth. It's all over the place. So price your game at what you think it's going to sell for what you think the market will bear. That's how it goes. And if you think that people are going to buy the Miles Morales game at $50, price it at $50.
I mean,
I was talking about this beforehand, before the show started, about how in the early 90s, video games had no standard. It was like Mario was $50, but Final Fantasy 1 and Earthbound were $100 a piece because they were valued larger because they spent there's more in the game. They took longer to develop. They put more into the story and the actual animation, and so people were willing to spend that. And then we reached the point in which video games became mainstream with PlayStation 2, the Xbox original, and the GameCube. And then hit the next generation after that, which is 360, Wii, and PS3. And then we had an economic hit globally. It hit us really hard in the United States, but it was a global hit regardless.
Oh, yeah.
So publishers became so afraid of changing that price, they didn't know what to do. So we've had $60 since 2005. That's 15 years at the same price point. Makes no sense.
Hey, to be fair, the cost of living has also gone up, but the minimum wage is not. So
but again, like the price of development has also gone up. So I'm with you in your statement. Developers should price their games at which they think it will sell, and they should make it so that they can make a buck, but also not sacrifice an arm and a limb to sell a game, and not have to bank on DLC to make a profit.
Well, no, that, but you have to weigh the option. Like, I can make more money by selling it for $10 more because the majority of those people will still buy it, but I alienate this whole other group of people, which would be a continued customer. Who could potentially also buy it at a higher rate later.
We also know that games go down in value over time. So if you're talking about at launch, $80 at launch is a high price point. But if people are willing to pay it for The Witcher 4 or
God of War or anything like
exactly right,
like high tier AAA games, I think could ask for $80 and get $80. Obviously, their market share would go down, but I think over time it would still recoup itself. For just the quality of the content, and you could ask that much
at
from
an $80 price point.
So.
I will monitor my extra spending considerably.
Right,
100%.
But if God of War comes,
I would wait for reviews, look at stuff online, may or may not still buy
But
it.
if God of War Ragnarok comes out and knocks it out, and it's 11 out of 10 on IGN or something like that, you're probably gonna go, all right, it's probably worth spending $80 on a video game. Just because you're going to spend 30, 40, 50, 100 hours, like that kind of thing, replaying and playing and playing and replaying and doing whatever with the game. So
EA and Activision can't just churn out the same game every year. They have to make it worthwhile if they're going to charge that price point. That's the other argument too, is like it has to be worthy of your actual dollar. Mm-hmm. And I think the problem we've had for a while is that so many people are fine with this, right? Like $60 the first time, that's a lot of money. $60 second time, I spent that last year. The third time, you just don't even think about it. And you just continue to spend that money over and over again. But if they start upcharging for it, well, you better make sure that it's worth my dollar because I'm not going to spend that $80 on something that's not worth a damn.
Yeah. Well, you also have to look at the potential cons of the market. So you're getting people that are paying this extra $10 that they normally would have charged beforehand for the same game that you really kind of expected. And you get to a point where you're like, this just isn't worth it. You're going to see a huge downturn in the amount of games people buy on that basis. So you could potentially, with a digital revolution coming around, you can't just go back to GameStop and turn that in. So people are going to have to be a lot more cautious about their buys.
People have to be cautious. The companies will have to make sure that their games are worthy of that price. Overall, it'll be really interesting to see what happens. But I do believe that price fluctuation is important in our market space because not every game is worthy of $60, nor is every game worthy of $20. Like, it truly depends on the title.
Yeah.
So,
like Spelunky, for instance. Spelunky 2 came out at $20. I'm like, what a steal.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. If they said $20 is like my expectation was at least 30.
30.
I would have paid 40 for it. I would have because
I think 30 would be an honest price for that level of game. But then again, I don't know how much time it took to develop it, and would it actually be the same amount of time as a $60 game? You know what I mean? Like I just don't know these things.
And arguably, I will probably spend my valuation of $40 worthy of a game in Spelunky, hands down. Like between you, me, and Bree playing either online together, the random moments, like today I spent 15 minutes of my workday where I was like, you know what, I need to take a break. I'm not going to go for a walk. I'm just going to go downstairs and play Spelunky for 15 minutes. And that was well worth of like $5. I would argue $5 my time, which is weird to say. Like, I'm not saying $5 for 15 minutes of gameplay, but yeah, like overarching, if I take that whole purchase.
Duly noted, if I ever need Brent to do anything, $5 for 15 minutes.
$5.
Sold.
We all know what you could do in 5 minutes, let alone 15.
That got weird.
But there is one final point we have to make.
Cool.
Sorry,
you're waiting on me. No, it's okay.
It's your topic, bud.
I know. He keeps saying stuff, and he's like, I'm done now. And I'm like, okay, fine, let's move on. Horizon, Spider-Man, and Sackboy coming to PS4 as well as 5. The only thing that I'm kind of not sold on this is that people are speculating that this means that this will come out within probably a 6-month time frame of when the console launches, which I want it to be because it means I win a pizza bet.
You win a pizza bet, yeah. Horizon specifically.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that. I think that you could count that into a year span.
No, I disagree entirely. I disagree.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because one, Sony wants to push PS5. So they don't want to burn everyone on launch, which is funny, right? Because they've been spouting forever that they're going to burn everybody on launch. And then they all of a sudden, as the launch arises, they're like, wait. The game's available at all. But I would argue 6-month span, playable on both consoles, makes sense because the people who can't get the pre-order available will have the time to get the next iteration of the pre-orders or the whatever, after the initial Black Friday rush. And
you won't see me buy a freaking Horizon Zero Dawn on my PS4.
No, hands down. It's going to be a PS5. So I won't concede yet because I believe that I have a week span worth of possibly winning this, in which it won't come out before April 12th. It'll come out like April 15th. But I do.
Yep, you know what? I mean, that is what it is. It was a gambit.
100%. So I do think that it's possible that we have Horizon very early on, which is why God of War can be in the same year. Now, knowing Sony, knowing their first-party studios, and knowing Santa Monica Studio, I don't think it's going to be in 21. Or personally, I think it'll be pushed to 2022 in the spring.
Yeah.
My own personal thoughts, they could be very wrong. I've been wrong quite a bit recently.
When did God of War come out?
It came out in April of 2018.
Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. I think it got delayed last time too.
It did.
Yeah, April 20th of 2018. I bet you it gets delayed. It's exactly what you said is probably what's going to happen.
420.
Nice.
I think the Miles Morales thing going to the PS4 is fine.
It makes
especially
sense.
for the game. It gets, if I'd like, say for instance, if I didn't get it, I would be okay playing that game on my PS4.
Spider-Man is one of the most bought PS4 exclusives. Like, there's no way it's not going to be on PS4.
It's going to be interesting, but I hope to God I win this pizza bet because it would be a Hail Mary of Hail Marys because we talked about this a year ago that I made this bet with you.
As of August 20th, 2019, Spider-Man has sold over 13 million units. There's no way that was not coming to PS4.
Yeah.
5.
I mean, PS5, yeah.
5, thank you.
Well, no, you're PS4.
No.
Yeah.
PS4, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was right originally, Mark.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it will come out in that launch window that we're talking about. It's just there's a very slight chance that you will win this. Based on
find out. We will find out. I'm excited.
But anyway, that's the end of it for me.
Please let us know what you think about the PlayStation conference. Do you think that it was well endowed? Do you think it was very skimpy? Are you sad about the price or pre-order date? Please let us know in the comments below. But now I think, Mark, I'm going to pause. I have to piss like no other. You have to pause the time.
Last call!
Last call! Okay, we'll wait. Right. Oh, wait. Are you done peeing? That's weird. Because it seems like we're back to the episode now. Finally.
It's time for last call. Last
Let's go. I have
You
to
don't have
pee.
to go home, but you can't stay here. Of course, we're on our own very separate digital bunkers. We're drinking our own things. I myself am drinking the Knob Creek Smoked Maple
Ooh.
along with a nice vodka tonic because you can't have whiskey without vodka. At least in this household, you can't. What do you got, John?
Wow.
Oh, my normal fifth of Jameson Black Barrel, baby.
We got to see a drink from it separately. What about you, Dispatcher?
I feel like a lightweight. Drinking Hazy Little Thing IPA. If it'll focus there. Ooh, yeah, from Sierra Nevada. Love it.
Ooh, I do like.
It's a hazy IPA, so it's a little lighter.
It's a little lighter. It's not as hoppy. It's hazy. Of course, we do have our Discord, which you could jump into as of today while we were recording, or right before we were recording this episode on the PlayStation 5 conference. We jumped into all watch it together. Thank you, Dispatcher, for helping us with the stream, and then discussed while we were watching. It was a good time. We all enjoyed it quite a bit, had some discussion, and then afterwards discussed it further.
They will have seen a bunch of it spliced into this episode, trust me.
I hope so. And we also are talking with each other about pre-orders. If anything, you want to be part of this Discord because we all help one another to try and get what we want, including consoles or graphics cards.
All right. GameStop's.
All right, so I'll hit you guys up for 3080s if I don't see them.
Can't wait. Outside of that, we've got to look at the GameStop Ultimate Edition bundle. We do have our weekly reading, which is Among Us' improbable rise to the top of Twitch. This is actually a really interesting article from Kotaku.com. I enjoyed it quite a bit, but you two specifically have been playing a lot of Among Us.
I'm watching a ton of Among Us content. Disguised Toast and Mr. Fruit, two of the biggest Among Us content creators I've seen out. Their content is awesome. The game is already awesome as it is, and the funny part is that it was like unintentionally awesome. So play it.
Good time indeed.
Buy it, play it. It's free on the damn App Store. I don't know about Google Play, but like it's an awesome game.
I do need to check it out myself because I'm very big on deceptive games.
Yes,
and
you
this
do.
is one I have not checked out myself. So.
You need to be able to play this with us.
We also have a Humble bundle from Humble themselves about The Boys comic. This is actually really cool. The Boys is out now on Amazon Prime for the second season. The first season, well worth diving into. But if you spend a total of $15, you get the entire The Boys comic line.
Wow.
Which I am thinking about diving into myself because I love The Boys. I thought it was a well worth diving into, and do want to check out the comics themselves. Did you get it?
Hold on. Not gonna check.
We're attempting to pre-order while we record because
going.
that's how we do things here on Happy Hour. We also do have our own question of the week.
I have to do an advanced system bundle, which is $800.
Yes, 100%.
Keep going.
The question of the week, John, I do need you to pay attention to slightly. The question of the week is: what dead person? What living or dead person?
This is where I got confused. I asked this question earlier and nobody said anything.
Yeah. What living or dead person?
What living dead
family
person
members do you admire?
Non-family members.
Non-family members, indeed.
He got that whale.
I don't know how to react to that.
That was weird. I'm not gonna lie. I don't want to end the cart. I want to check out. God damn it! I just want to PS5.
So this is
Expensive.
so my answer to this is going to be sort of a mixed bag. Because I'll say I admire certain aspects of the way that they handle things, but not necessarily their entire belief.
Okay.
Elon Musk.
Okay.
I admire
this
his
would come out.
work attitude. I admire his ethics to the point of why he does things in business the way that he does them. He works for Tesla because he wants to see a better world. He works for SpaceX because he wants to see us continue space travel and space exploration. He works
Is that why he was supporting Kanye West?
Again, I said I support most of the things that he does, not necessarily all his beliefs anyway. No, but his work ethic is one that I only wish I could aspire to. Of the man sleeps like 6 hours a night, but he has a very dedicated schedule of this is what I spend on Tesla. This is what I spend on Boring Company. This is what I spend on SpaceX. This is what I spend on Solar City, whatever, it's divided up appropriately. And the man is very well self-taught on everything that he does. His rocket science, self-taught. Everything that he needs to understand about electric cars, self-taught. And whether that's come from purchasing companies or integrating with companies or buying out employees of previous companies that have that knowledge, like they've only helped him further. And I wish I had that same kind of work ethic to some extent. Yeah. But he falls right in line with, for example, like older, like active in Microsoft, Bill Gates, and active in Apple, Steve Jobs, when he was still around. So to some extent, I wish I had understood them, but I admire Elon Musk because he's the current example that I know that sets a certain precedent, I guess, of what you can do for yourself just by devoting your time, devoting your energy, and dedicating yourself correctly for this.
Okay. I think that's fair.
The dream, the goal.
I have some odd variations. Mostly because you got it? Sorry, folks. This is going to be a real tearjerker here. We're trying to determine if we get these consoles.
Keep going. He hasn't responded yet.
I
keeps taking me to a different page. Like, are you sure? Are you sure? I'm like, oh my fuck!
I fall into a weird headspace, right? Like, I work within an industry which really reveres people who are completely dedicated. And I'm not. Not that I'm not dedicated to my job, because I do care about my job, but I'm not dedicated to spending my entire existence doing this thing. I don't care about the money. I don't care about the fame. I don't want to climb the corporate ladder. I just want to be. And that puts me in a weird space consistently. I think the most the two people I kind of coalesce with the most in a professional setting are actually Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, who are a comic writer and comic artist respectively. They've worked on Batman for DC. They also work on their own individually owned comics. And one of the things I really appreciate about Scott Snyder specifically is that he goes out and does both, right? Like, so he works for the corporate overlord, quote unquote, which is DC. He works on writing Batman comics and other comics for their entire existence, but ultimately does care more about his own happiness. So for him, he wants to write the stories he wants to write, and he wants to exist on the spectrum he wants to exist. He doesn't want to be trapped on every level. So they write really cool Batman comics. I love their Batman comics. The Court of Owls comes out of it. Bloom. We had an entire run with Commissioner Gordon being actually Batman, which was super weird and funky and cool. Like, they create cool ass shit, but it is exclusive to their own style, and it's owned by DC. It's not like they have the rights to it, but it's still very cool that these two individuals try. And on the side, Scott Snyder writes his own comics. He wrote Witch, he wrote Submerge, he wrote couple other things. He's coming out with a brand new comic. I admire the passion over anything else.
Can I say that just to clarify, I guess earlier, because I heard it, maybe it's wrong. It sounded like you said Rob Snyder earlier, and
Scott Snyder.
Hardcore confused.
No, Scott Snyder. Scott Snyder is a comic book writer.
Yeah.
He's got some wonderful family and some issues, unfortunately, they've been dealing with, but overall enjoys what he does. And so he writes his own comics on top of working with DC. And it's that passion that drives him. So he, of course, knows he needs to have a paycheck. He's got a family he has to take care of, all that jazz, but also cares deeply about the character of Batman. He grew up with Batman, wants to make it work. And so he writes his own storyline under DC's pretense. Now, DC has also learned to trust him and Greg because they've come up with some batshit ideas that have worked out really well. They wrote some cool storylines. And so I think overall, those are the two individuals. I'm talking about Scott a lot more because I know more about him than Greg. But the two of them, just the passion of their craft that carries them, on top of the fact that they're not constricted by being in some corporation, I really do admire.
Okay. I dig it.
What about you, John, in the middle of pre-order hassle?
I don't.
We broke him.
I don't. Oh, I didn't get the pre-order.
Sony broke him. Walmart broke him.
But
Best Buy broke him.
I literally
Something
am
broke him.
at the checkout, place order, hitting the button, and it's like, no.
It's not doing it for me either. It's okay.
But
the entire website's breaking right now.
I mean, to be fair, two hours 40 minutes from now, you guys should be able to pre-order. So,
yeah.
Well, we don't know if it'll actually break, but that doesn't matter. Go ahead.
I don't idolize people.
Yeah.
I usually pay attention to the things done. A lot of people do one or a couple of things huge in their lives, and that's something for me to embrace as a model of something that I want to do or be. I don't really look at people saying, because everybody's fallible. Like Martin Luther King Jr., for instance, is someone who is highly sought at as a leader, as someone who was brave, and he had good qualities. But from what I hear, there's a lot of other stuff that happens too. So everybody's got parts of them that aren't good, and so I look at the things that are good and I try to incorporate those into my life as best as I can.
Yeah,
and I use that as a guide. But
I think that's fair entirely.
That's very fair. Yeah.
Please let us know who it is that is not related to you that you admire or look up to in the comment section, floating directly above Mark, like
it's not GameStop.
Dirty cloud, dirty cloud. And until next time, cheers.
Cheers.